Today on the show, I get a response from Uncle Larry himself. What's up, everybody? I had myself a very, very interesting morning this morning. A lot of fun. Got to talk to a whole bunch of people, um, one of which includes Tom Bukovac, Uncle Larry himself from homeschooling. Also talked to Voizu a little bit, which was surprising. All of this due to my last video, which was titled like the YouTube feud between Bukovac and Voizu. If you haven't checked out that video, there'll be a link at the end of this one to take you to that one. And I just want to comment a little bit on it. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I don't want this to be a drama channel. This wasn't meant to be a soap opera channel, so that's not what I want it to be. So just gonna briefly bring up what my morning was like today, and go past that and talk about some vintage guitars, talk about some new guitars. And the demo shop, or Gibson's demo shop on Reverb, put up some new stuff. So let's do that real quick. So this morning I wake up to see if I can bring up my screen here for you. So overnight, my subscribership has doubled, which is amazing. That's awesome. And I have my look at that face. I'm gonna skip that face. I've had, my last video is my most viewed video so far. Hopefully it just keeps going up from there. But what I did was I made a video titled Bukovac versus Voizu YouTube feud, battle over the 59 burst. If you don't know what this is, like I said, watch that video. But I got a chance to, increase my viewership and stuff like that with this video. But I also got to talk to a lot of cool people in the comments, and I got 90 comments as of now, and some of which you can see right here. 501 Chorus Echo, that's Tom himself. And I had to, right off the bat, I think I had to make sure that I diffused any situation with me in it, because I didn't want to be in it. I literally made this video because I just thought it was interesting what was happening. I didn't necessarily have I have a point of view on it, and I kind of gave my point of view at the end in my video at the end, where, this whole thing about bursts being worth a certain amount of money, and is it worth paying all this money for bursts? And some people think it's crazy, and that these guitars sound just like regular guitars, and other people think that, they're the best things ever created. And I'm sure there's truth in both of those ideas. I haven't played any of them. I have never had my hands on a 59 burst. I've never had my hands on a 58, 50, 60. The oldest guitar that I've ever touched is one that I own, and it's that 1964 Gretsch 6120. And I love it. I love that guitar. Have there been guitars that I played that were old that I didn't like as much? Yeah. And are there newer guitars that I played that I haven't liked very much? Yeah. And vice versa, right? So some of the things that were said in the comments from some people, the main thing with Tom, which I absolutely get and I respect, and I was actually thinking about what he was saying as I was doing the video. So a lot of the comments that he had mentioned were, you didn't watch my whole video. So how, if you're not going to watch my whole video, how can you do a deep dive into this whole thing? And I totally get what he's saying. And, I'm a teacher by trade, and I always tell my students all the time to make sure that they go to the source and get their information from the source. But in my video, as to kind of, stick up for myself a little bit, in my video, I made sure that I said, I don't know the context of what Tom is saying. All I can go by is what Voyu said, because I didn't watch Tom's video, and I should have. But I was up late one night. I had some thoughts in my head about this whole feud thing, and I wanted to get off my chest, so I made the video. Had I known it was going to be this wide-reaching, maybe I would have dug a little deeper. But I made sure to not really have too much of an opinion either way. I tried to stay as in the middle as I possibly could. And Voyzoo's, what he does on his video is he'll play little snippets of Tom's video. And as he does that, there are points where I'm like, oh man, I wish he would have just let that play a little more so I could hear, what he said. And there is a point in Tom's video, and I'm going to play it for you here. Let me switch screens to a different screen. There is a point in Tom's video, and this is kind of going to be the last that I really go through with any of this, because I don't want these videos to be too long. This was the video that Voyzoo shared. And, one of Voyzoo's things is that not all these guitars are great. And the fact that people say that all these guitars are great just because they're 59s and just because they're 60s, that they're all the most magical guitars in the world. And Tom says that in this video, that they're not, right? And he admits that. And, just putting it out there, so that you can have the whole picture, or, I'm not giving you the entire picture. I did watch Tom's whole video. I hope he won all his NFL bets. I don't bet. I'm very poor at betting, and betting runs in my family, and it doesn't end well for people in my family. So I should stay away from betting, but I hope he won all his NFL bets. But just, take a listen to this one little clip where, he admits that not all vintage guitars are amazing. They're the best ever, but, some of them are really good.
They've never owned one. They've never played many of them. And they don't know. And I'm not saying that they all do that. Of course, just because it's old doesn't mean it's cool. That's the first rule of vintage guitars. But I'm saying of the 1700 made, you got to admit that there's a large percentage of those that are fucking really, really cool guitars. And at this point, many of us are lucky to ever play one.
Okay, so I don't want to play too much of it, because I don't feel there's a need for it. But one of Voyzoo's big arguments is that he can't believe that all of them are so great. And like I said, I've never gotten the chance to play any of them. I've had a couple of old ones that really didn't fit me or my style. And that's another thing that I want to talk about. So I'm going to end that there. And I spoke to, I was commenting with these guys through my video comment section, and you can look at those comments if you wanted to. But there were other people. There were people who were sticking up for Tom. There were people who were sticking up for Voyzoo, and I didn't think that my comment section was going to be a ring for that. But some cool people that I got to talk to here. There was one guy named Albert Jabberin. He seems like a nice dude. You can tell he's passionate about music. You can tell he's passionate about, he's a big fan of Tom. And I thought that he was going to start going after me, but eventually I think he saw that I wasn't trying to be an antagonist in this whole thing, that I was just trying to, do a little commentary on some music and guitar entertainment news. So one other thing I wanted to talk about was, let's talk about vintage guitars. I want to hear your opinion on vintage versus new versus custom shop. So I have, like I said in my last video, I've been blessed with the ability to get my hands on some cool stuff. And, I always think I'm not the best player in the world, and I will never ever put anyone down for their abilities, because I don't believe my abilities are all that great. I can't even figure out how to get the sound into my dang computer. Like, if anybody wants to help me with that, by all means, please help me out. I got a soundboard. I got a Behringer soundboard that I used to do. I used to have a cover band back in New York, and we used this, 12 channel soundboard that has a USB output that I put right into my computer, and my mic comes out perfect. My mic comes out really nice and clear. And when I put my headphones on and I put a guitar instrument into one of the faders, it sounds great in the headphones, but it doesn't record well on the computer for some reason. I'm not sure why. I'm trying to get some type of interface so I can have some guitar playing on here, but I'm having trouble figuring that out. I don't want to mic amps. I have little kids and stuff, and I can't have my amp cranking all the time to bother them. But so I have some vintage ones. All of the stuff in the back wall there is all vintage stuff. Okay, all of that is now. Okay, here's a good question. What is vintage to you? Right. So let's put that on the screen. What is vintage? Because one of the comments in that section, because in my video I spoke about how I had a 1980 Les Paul custom, and I was referring to it as vintage, and the person that commented felt that wasn't a vintage guitar. That's more of a, when people say vintage, they're talking about golden era guitars, 50s and 60s era guitars. And my response was, I understand, I totally get what you're saying, but just like music these days, or anything, could be anything, stuff gets old and it's considered to be vintage, so like, I'm 42. When I was a kid, Nirvana was coming out, all the grunge bands, Pearl Jam. I'm forgetting Chris Cornell's band off the top of my head. I can't think of it, but you guys know all the bands that were out. Green Day and all those types of bands were out. Those guys are like classic rock now, right? I'm from New York, though. If anybody ever listened to Q1043, like all those bands would probably be on Q1043 right now, classic rock station. Where when I was a kid, the new stuff, the Pearl Jams and the Green Days and all that stuff wasn't on the classic rock station. I was listening to Skynyrd on classic rock, and I was listening to Zeppelin and the Beatles and Rush and all that other stuff on the classic rock channels. So what do you consider to be a vintage guitar, right? So some of these guitars that I have on the back wall, so that one, my Gretsch, that's a 64. I consider that vintage. This Gibson is a 67. I consider that vintage. These two Telecasters, there we go. The black one here is a 77, and this one's a 74. The thin line's a 74. That black Rickenbacker is a 86. That blue Strat is an 84. That really dark SG is an 82. That's got a really cool story, which I'm going to have a whole episode on. That's a great story, that guitar. And then on the floor, we have a 71 ES335. We have a 67 J160E. That's a Guild, an 83 Guild 12 string, and a 77 Les Paul Special. So those are all my what I call vintage. Would you consider all of those to be vintage guitars, or would you only consider the ones from the 60s to be vintage guitars? I consider that thin line to be a vintage guitar, right? I consider the 80s ones to be vintage guitars. Are on the vintage wall, for God's sakes. I love all of those. All of those guitars on that wall, I absolutely love. It took a long time to be able to trade and buy those guitars. Some of those guitars were bought outright. Some of those guitars were traded for, and I will talk about all those trades that I've made on separate videos. But those are the ones that I love, and there were a couple of vintage ones. I had a 77 RD that played really well, but it just wasn't for me. Didn't fit the kind of music that I played. It was a great guitar though. And like I said before, I had that Les Paul, that 80s Les Paul Custom, which to me, it just didn't do what I wanted from me. And I think that's another thing. It's about how you play it, right? So there are guitars that I bet that if I play them, they don't feel right to me. And I don't play that guitar well. Even though I can give that guitar to somebody else, and that other person can make that guitar sing and make that guitar do things that I can't get it to do, but maybe I can do that on a different guitar. And one really good example is Firebirds. Okay. I absolutely love, let me see if I can make my screen a little bit bigger. I love Firebirds. I have a thing for Firebirds. Whenever I see one, I want to play it. I want to buy it. I want to trade it or trade for it. And for some reason, I don't know why, but every time I get one of these and bring it home, this one's out of tune. Every time I get one of these and bring them home, I'm kind of disappointed in it. And it's not because the guitar is bad. It's not because it doesn't function the way it's supposed to. It's just the way I play doesn't necessarily translate on these guitars. And I don't know why. And it makes me really upset because I love these guitars. I don't know if it's the mini Firebird pickups, or if it's the combination of the body shape in these pickups, because I have this Firebird. This is just a Firebird Studio. It's a 2005 Firebird Studio. Just like, the one Dave Grohl used to play back in the day with the Foo Fighters. And this has an amazing story too. This has a great, great story. Can't wait to tell you guys about this one. But when I was in my band in New York, in a little cover band, this was my go-to guitar. And this guitar, when I play it, does exactly what it's supposed to do. It sounds exactly like I want it to sound. And when I'm playing it, my hands find the parts of this guitar that it's supposed to find, and everything sounds clean and the way it's supposed to be played. And I love this guitar. Stays in tune, better than the Firebird 5. But I absolutely love this thing. And this has regular humbuckers, probably the same humbuckers that you would put in or see in in like a Flying V or like an Explorer, probably the 498s and the 490s. But this guitar works for me, and the other Firebird doesn't. I'm actually working on a trade with that other Firebird. And then I have some custom shop Firebirds. I have let me grab one for you. I got this non-reverse custom Firebird. This is a custom shop Gibson, and I absolutely love this guitar as well. I think the electronics are a little wonky in this one. I'm not the first owner. The first owner of this guitar changed the pickup covers to cream, which I absolutely love because they normally came with black pickup covers, but I love the cream pickup covers. I want to say he changed the knobs because these knobs are gold, and I want to say this guitar came with black knobs, but I love that he put the gold and the cream appointments on it. But I think he messed up the wiring of the pickups, because in the middle and the upper position, nothing changes between those two positions. They basically both stay the same. I'm thinking about taking this over to Carter's or Groon's here in Nashville to see if they'll work on it for me. I think I've taken stuff to Groon's before. I think they work on guitars. I'm not sure if Carter's works on stuff. But what I would love to do is disengage this middle pickup and just have the neck and the bridge working. So, like I said, I've had guitars where I've played them and they just don't feel right to me, and that was like that Les Paul, that 80s Les Paul that I had. I had a modern Les Paul custom, and that just felt better to me. So that's what I went back to. I just play them better. They sound better when I play them. They just sound better, and it's just, isn't that what we want? Isn't what we want to make the best music we can, right? Regardless of what instruments in our hands. Okay, so that was one thing I want to talk about. What is vintage? And I also want to talk about what's vintage versus custom shop versus new. So, like I said, I have vintage, I have custom shop stuff. I have an R7 on the wall, gold top, and this guitar, I absolutely love this thing. And this is my first R guitar. I've never had an R8 or an R9 or an R7 before. And I've had lots of gold tops, and none of those gold tops really did the trick for me. I've had gold top standards, I've had gold top classics, Les Paul classics, and this one just has something extra, right? This just has something extra, and I personally do not believe it has anything to do with the fact that it's supposed to be a $4,000 guitar and that it's supposed to be better because the price is higher. Okay. Um, Gold tops are not my favorite Les Paul. I love Heritage Cherry Sunburst Les Pauls. Those are my favorite. And I love Ebony customs. I got a soft spot in my heart for a Heritage Cherry Sunburst and a Ebony custom. Gold tops aren't necessarily my thing, but this thing weighs hardly anything as far as a Les Paul goes. It's got a fat neck near the headstock, and it really flattens out near the guitar, near the neck joint. Okay, and it plays great, and it just has that. I had both of them. I had two at the same time. I had this one and I had a Les Paul Classic at the same time, and I had both of them going into the same amp with the same settings. And this one just made me want to play it more, and it just had that thing to it. And it was a brand new Les Paul Classic, gold top Les Paul Classic, brand spanking new, not a thing wrong with it. Not a scratch on it, and that thing just outdid it. It outperformed it a lot. So that's not to say that new stuff isn't good though, right? Because there is plenty of new good stuff, which I have, especially my acoustics. That Black Dove is brand new, and I love that Dove. That's a great Dove. And just because something is expensive doesn't mean it's great, right? New or old. So like that Jumbo, that J200, it's a $5,500 guitar, and I gotta say it's not one of my favorites in my collection. But if I know if I get rid of it, I'll never be able to afford another one, right? And I got that guitar because I love Tom Petty, I love George Harrison, I love, who hasn't played one of those? But when I play it, it doesn't sound the way I want it to sound. But when I bang on that Dove, or when I bang on my D35 Martin, or a good J45, it sounds like I want it to sound, and it's just not geared for me, I guess. So that was that. You tell me what you think. Now these custom shop guitars, I mean, I haven't played many, and it seems like all the custom shop guitars that I do play, I really, really like. Like I have 5 custom shops, 2 Firebirds, 2 Les Pauls, and an SG, and I love every single one of those. And I haven't played a custom shop recently besides that, 1980 Les Paul Custom. I don't know if that's considered a custom shop guitar. I mean, I consider a custom shop because it says custom on it, but I have not played a custom shop guitar that I did not like. And again, I don't think it's because it's a custom shop thing. I just think that they feel different, right? That this 65 or 64 reissue SG that I have, it feels like nothing else I played. And I love SGs. I absolutely love standard everyday off the line SGs. Love them. This one just has something different about it. It's just really, really cool. But I love new SGs as well. I love new SGs. They're really good guitars. But so yeah, you tell me what is vintage. Tell me about your experiences with vintage versus custom shop versus just new standard stuff. New standard Les Pauls, new standard American. Well, they're not called American Standard Fenders anymore. They're American Professional Tellys and American Professional Strats. Versus, I've never played a custom shop Strat. I would like to do that. I've never played a custom shop Strat, but this Strat, that blue one there, oh, I love it. That's a Dan Smith era Strat that I did a decent trade for that one, and that sounds like no. I'm not a Strat guy, but that Strat doesn't sound like any other Strat I've ever played. That thing gets just as nasty and gritty as some of the Gibson humbucker guitars that I have. That's really why I'm keeping it. And I love blue guitars. I would love a Sonic blue one because I'm a Beatles fan. But yeah. So last thing I want to talk about today is the demo shop. Okay, Gibson demo shop put up some new stuff today. So we'll quickly just go through that, because that last video that I did with the Gibson custom shop, a demo shop, did really well. So if you guys want to see that, I would have no problem doing that for you. So, all right, they've even put more stuff up since I've been on. Okay. Am I on the first page here? I'm on the second. That's why I was going to say that doesn't look like the first page. Here we go. All right. So what does Gibson have to offer us today? First thing that caught my eye were these white Les Paul Customs. There are two of them on here. Oh, and I want to say from my last video, I had said that there was a gold top that was a really good price. It was like $1,800 or something for a standard gold top, $1,700. And I was thinking about picking it up just to, because it's a great deal, right? If you can spend $1,700 on a gold top and then trade it for something that's $2,500, you've made yourself, some, I don't want to say you made yourself some profit, but you were able to trade up because you got yourself a good deal, right? And that's how you kind of have to think when trading guitars, right? If you buy a guitar for $2,500 and you trade it for something that's worth $2,500, you broke even. If you buy a guitar for 17 and trade it for something that's worth 25, you just made yourself $500-$600, right? So think about that. You don't want to take a loss. Sometimes you have to, and I probably take more losses than I do gains. But that's should be your goals. Don't take a loss on something, right? Try to horizontally trade your stuff for equal value. So these two white Les Pauls, these are good deals, right? Because this guitar normally goes for they're saying typical new price $5,800. I didn't think they got that high. I thought they were like $5,000. I'm just gonna check out Sweetwater real quick. Gibson Les Paul Custom. Maybe the white ones are more money because I know they're a pain in the butt to spray. Yeah, $5,800. Wow, that's crazy. I remember when I was playing in my band, they were like, I want to say they were $3,500, and that was like 2000, maybe 2010. Yeah, they're $5,800 now for white ones. That's crazy. But given that, I mean, $4,000 is a really good price on a white Les Paul Custom, white Les Paul Custom. I don't know what the deal is with those pickups, but they have another one down here. They're both mods. So this one, let's see if I can bring it up here. This one has the modification that's on this one is going to be those pickups, because normally you're just going to have, I don't know what they put in them now, probably custom buckers. Let's see what the mod is. Back of headstock stamp modified, gold knobs, uncovered pickups with black and white bobbins. What are the pickups in this bad boy? 490R and 498T. Those are, those are the same pickups that I have in my Firebird Studio. So the pickups aren't necessarily special, but the fact that they're uncovered and they're zebra bobbins give it a cool look. Now this other white one, I can tell the modification on this one is at least at minimum the modification on this one is the nickel hardware, because typically you get gold hardware unless it's worn gold. Is it worn gold? It looks nickel to me. Looks pretty cool. You don't see white ones with nickel hardware. I personally like the gold ones. The one that I have, the black one I have, came from the mod shop. It came in a trade. So the person I got it from, he got it from the mod shop, and it had all nickel parts. And I went out and purchased all the gold parts because I thought replacing all the gold parts was going to be super expensive, but it wasn't. Modifications, VOS hardware and pickups. Yeah, same pickups though, 490R and 498T. I tried to figure out because, like I said, I didn't get my. I got mine through a trade. I don't know what my pickups are. I took them out, and it just has the patent applied for sticker on the back. So I have no idea what kind of pickups they are. They could be 498 and 490s, but they also could be custom buckers. The demo shop does kind of what they want. It doesn't say if it's nickel. It just says VOS. So maybe it's just really aged gold. It doesn't say. Taper neck, body shape, tuner's bridge, controls. It doesn't say. It doesn't say. I don't see it anyway. But that was a pretty good one. Both of those guitars are really good deals. But that gold top from last week, the really good deal on the gold top. One of my listeners purchased it. They told me in the comments that they purchased the gold top. It'll be here on Tuesday. So I hope that you send me some pictures of that at guitargeartrader@gmail.com if anybody wants to email me. What else you got some here? You got some Les Paul Classic with all black hardware and stuff. Standard 50s for 23. That's like their typical price on this demo shop for a standard. This one is pretty cool. Like I said, I'm an SG fan, and this is a pretty cool looking SG. Gibson Custom 1963 SG. It's got 3 humbuckers. 1 humbucker's uncovered. It looks pretty beat up. It's got black pick guard, which is not necessarily what you typically see on old white SG Customs. You usually see all the white pick guard on it with the cream covers and the 3 gold pickup covers. This one's a little different. This one looks like it has nickel hardware on it too, or like I said, very aged gold. It's got some wear marks on it. It doesn't say Murphy Lab in the description anywhere. Maybe it does down here in the description. Aged nickel hardware. Okay, so this is definitely nickel. All BB2 pickups. Not sure what BB2 pickups are. Oh, Burstbucker. There you go. Burstbucker 2 pickups. So you got 3 Burstbucker 2 pickups in all the spots. And it's a 2022. This one's been sitting around a while. That's interesting. That serial number looks small, doesn't it? Looks like there should be another number on the serial number. Maybe it's because it's a custom. It has a different serial number. Let's see if the back of the headstock. You can't really see. Can't see. Okay, but that's definitely cool. But $5,000, that's a lot of money. I would save that one. Put it if you're interested in that one. Click the heart on it and see if they give you a discount. Another classic for $1,700. If you are if you want to get your first Les Paul, that's a good deal right there. $1,700-$1,700. That's how much they were when I was a kid in my younger years. Another custom 64 335. That's really cool. It's a little dark cherry for me though. I like the brighter cherry ones, like this one. This one down here. That's a 339 though. Smaller body on the 339. If you didn't know the difference between a 339 and a 335 is essentially the same guitar, except the lower bout. Okay, the lower bout here, the width of this guitar at the bottom on a 335 is larger than the width of a 339, just to give you an idea. And here's the last one I wanted to talk about because I think this is one of the last new ones in their update list. And I want to know what you guys think. Now, please don't kill me for this. I do not think Gibson Les Pauls should be blue bursts. The only blue that, in my opinion, and I don't even think this should be on it, to be really honest with you. The only blue that should be on a Les Paul is Pelham blue. And even that, I think it would be cooler if it was a vintage Pelham blue custom color than a production line blue, Les Paul and blue. To me, I just don't think Les Pauls are supposed to be blue. That's just me. That's just me. Leave it to Epiphone to make cool blue burst guitars, Les Pauls. Leave it to PRS to make really cool blue looking guitars. To me, it just seems like it just doesn't fit a Gibson Les Paul. If you have a blue one and you like it, that's nothing wrong. Please do not get mad at me. It's my personal opinion. I would never personally buy a blue one. I bought one blue one on the Gibson demo shop, and I was looking at it. I'm like, I just can't do this. It was a Pelham Blue Les Paul Deluxe. It was a really nice little guitar. Sounded great, played great. Had those little mini humbuckers in it, but I just couldn't get over the fact that it was a blue Les Paul. So I traded it for something else. It was cool. But that's just my opinion. I don't think Les Paul should be blue ever. SGs look great in blue. Old Firebirds look cool in Pelham blue. Not my favorite Firebird color though. Much rather have that like tobacco sunburst color. Or white. Love white Firebirds. But yeah, blue. I don't think Les Paul should be blue. But if you wanted one, here is one. You got one right here. And I think this would look better with cream appointments. I think this would look better with cream pickguard, pickup rings, poker chip, and maybe some gold speed knobs. I think that would look better. Or even the gold top hats. I don't think blue is the way to go. But so that's all I got for today. I don't want these videos to get too long. I think people like them when they're a little bit shorter. If you don't mind, hit subscribe on YouTube. Hit the bell. I appreciate all the people that followed me last night, and I appreciate all the comments that I got on the last video. Please continue that. Keep that going. I'm going to have one of these. I'm going to pick. If you guys want to hear about a certain guitar in this room, you let me know. There's lots of good stories in this room that I could tell about trading, and I just don't know which one to do first. I kind of want to save the best stories for when I have a larger audience. But if there's something here that you want to see, please let me know. Leave it in the comments. Subscribe and hit that bell, and I will talk to you next time.